Well, because I'm I'm up it. Basically, I forgot to switch on the sound recorder when I did this one, and so my spiffy new sound recorder was just chattering away to itself and not recording anything. So I'm going to attempt a voiceover, which I haven't done before. So what we've got here is about a 6-inch length of polyester with a 3mm hole up the centre, and we're going to try and turn this into a pipe stem, pipe drip tip. I don't know the right terminology for that. Again, it's a special that's been requested by a lad called Paul. So this is Paul's prototype. See if we can do it. We're also going to attempt to bend it, which I have no idea at all if I can do. But I have done something similar to this a couple of years back when I made a kind of Audrey Hepburn style cigarette holder, except it was for vaping, for a very nice lady from Ireland. And so I sort of had a clue how to go about this. The only thing is that we wanted it something like 6 inches long, and to get the hole up the centre, I mean, this is the restriction on the length, is how long the drill you can get. Well, you can get long series drills, but they're only about 3mm diameter, only about 3.5 inches long, 4 inches long. So I had to get a long series one to drill that length. So I've given up on the first tool and I've changed over to something called a skew chisel here. Now, skew chisels are great. They can be fairly hairy to use. You've got to be very careful with them because they work extremely well, but only when they're extremely sharp. But as you can see, it's planing off the wood. It's not chipping it off. So we're just cruising down there trying to get a nice slow taper. The only nice thing about doing a voiceover is I can have a drag as I'm doing it. So, and because I've got the headset on with the little boom mic on the side, you get to hear that bit. So we're carrying on, taking off the lumps. So coming down now, long slow taper. At this point I don't actually know how I'm going to terminate the end, the mouth end, because as I say, we're making this up as we go along. Helps if you've got a nice steady hand. Also helps if you can see what you're doing. You know, if this was wood, the chips would be flying everywhere, clearing themselves. But the static that's generated makes the bits of polyester or acrylic cling like mad, which is why they all pile up on the end of the chisel. But you can see the nice job the skew's making. See the polished line behind the chisel. That's the bevel polishing it as it goes along. That's good. Now we're just starting to get the thin end of the taper made here. Bringing it down to I ended up actually putting a ball on the end, although at this point I didn't really know what I was going to do. But it's a prototype, so we'll see how we get on with it. Or rather, we'll see how Paul gets on with it, seeing as how he asked for it. I don't mind doing prototypes for free. It's, you know, I've just done the big bore drip tips, and I'm just doing this one. because you never know, it might be something that works out, and if somebody's got to test it out. If it ain't right, they shouldn't pay for it. So it's as easy as that. You can see the way my hand's going behind and underneath the material. What's happening there is I'm supporting it. I'm stopping what they call whipping, which is where the material finds it easier to move away from the chisel than it is to cut. So you're kind of supporting the material and stopping it pushing away. So you keep your finger running underneath it and behind, just behind the chisel, as you can see, which is alright on polyester, but by gum, it doesn't half get hot when you're doing it on wood. The friction it generates is surprising. And of course that's the other thing I've got to watch with the polyester. I can't get it hot. It goes like soft rubber if you overheat it. And the way the skew chisel works, it's the bevel's actually rubbing on the wood, so you're getting more friction than you normally do with the other tools. But it does make a big difference when you stabilise it like that with your finger crooked around it. So we're starting to look for the lumps now, just planing them off, trying to get this taper established. See, I'm using different bits of the edge of the skew chisel. I'm down at the heel just now, and that's so that I'm trying to work with the sharpest part of it that I can. Because even the polyester, well, oddly enough, particularly this particular polyester, because although you won't see it, has got little bits of metal in it, like a metal flake, like a metal flake paint job. And these little bits of metal can knock hell out of the edge of the tool. So even the other tooling, got to sharpen them pretty regularly. So by using the different, the lengths of the bevel, I can be working with a sharp edge all the time before I have to resharpen it. We're just starting to form the end now. Again, feeling for any lumps, any bits I don't like. I think I'll try and cut in some of the original soundtrack when the lathe's not running. So it's a little bit more spontaneous than my voiceover. And see the nice finish you get though. Look at the shine on that. That's just off the tooling. Okay, I think it's time we put some decoration on this, so we're going to change weapons. Now, I'm going to put a few beads on it. If this had been wood, I'd be using a gouge. But because it's polyester, I'm having to use one of my homemade tools. As you can see, this one's been made from an old file. I think out of the four I use regularly, two of them are homemade ones, but they work. And we're just forming one side of the bead here. That's the other side going in. Again, I can't go too deep with these because we have got that hole up the middle, so I can't go in very far. Just doing it by eye, the spacing between them. This is the usual suck it and see job, so we'll see how it goes. Yeah. I guess that's me forming the bead in the middle. You can see the shape coming in there now. Every now and again it stalls because I pressed too hard and got to back off. That's why you see that sudden flash of it not rotated. Just have a go for one more. Just keep the theme going. Again, quite close to that internal bore there, so can't go very deep. Right, so now we've got to make the end bit, and at some point here I've decided we're going to make a ball out of it. That's another tool, that's called a parting tool. That's the one we use for finishing the ends off and doing odd bits of shaping, and that's the ball being formed for the mouthpiece. Nice and steady. So we could lose it completely on this little bit where we're at the thinnest. Yep, I think we're happy with that. So let's start polishing. So the plastic's to protect the lathe from the water. It's cast steel. The bed on the lathe is cast steel, so any water at all on it and it just it's rusty in an instant. So before I start, I actually cover the whole lot with WD-40. Now this abrasive paper I'm using here has got like a foam back, so when I get too much of a slurry built up on the job, you see I just pop the underside of it onto the job, and it washes the slurry away. And as I just said to myself, if we get this far, we're going to have to go bending it as well if we make a job of this. Again, at this time I hadn't got the foggiest idea I was going to do it. I'll wash the slurry off. But I had a couple of vague ideas of something to try, but I didn't know if any of them would work to get a bend in it. You'll have to wait till the end to see if we were successful or not. See, my left hand's feeling it all the time. You know, you see it come in and run down it. What I'm doing is feeling for any lumps or nicks in it, or bits I don't like. Again, keeping it moving so that we don't overheat one particular area. Using the edge of the abrasive to get into the sides of the beads that I created. Right, we're done with the coarse paper, so we're starting on the finer stuff now. I don't think you end up seeing too much of this. Just the first little bit. You've seen all this before in the other videos anyway. Again, getting into the sides of the beads, get those polished. That's the most important bit. Your lips will soon tell you if there's a little nick or anything there. You can feel it straight away on your lips. You won't believe the mess my glasses get into when I'm doing this because of the spray coming off it. All that white slurry just covers my glasses. No bother at all. Right, I think we're going to have a stop in a minute and have a look at it. So I'm probably going to change over to yeah. Different. Yeah. You can tell I'm not overly thrilled with it. I know why. This particular material is cut so that it needs ingoing shapes to show it off, and we're working the wrong way for that. But it'll do to prove whether we can do it or not. So I've skipped all the grades, we're just down to the last one now. Stunningly nice, but I want to test the viability of doing this. So this is just tidying up the end. As I've just said there, you know, if I can, although I'm not desperately impressed with it for the material, but if I can do it in one material, I'll do it anyway. So. There now. How about that then? Okay. So we'll give that a go and see if we can bend this little darling. Alright, off you go. Talk to you a lot later. Well now, looks like we can bend it. I've no idea how much to bend it, but the fact is I can. And we've retained the polish as well, which was the other thing I was a bit bothered about. That it wouldn't stay shiny. Well, I think we'll call that a partial success. About 6 inches long. So, yes, happy bunny. Okie doke, that's it, that's the end of the last of the specials. So we'll see how we get on from now. Cheers.